Germanic Heroic Age. The Germanic or German Heroic Age, so called in analogy to the heroic age of Greek mythology, is the period of early historic or quasi-historic events reflected in Germanic heroic poetry. Periodization. The period corresponds to the Germanic Wars in terms of historiography, and to the Germanic Iron Age in terms of archaeology, spanning the early centuries of the first millennium, in particular the 4th and 5th centuries, the period of the final collapse of the Western Roman Empire, and the establishment of stable barbarian kingdoms larger than at the tribal level the kingdoms of the Visigoths. The Germanic peoples at the time lived mostly in tribal societies. William Patten Kerr in Epic and Romance 1897 takes the heroic age as predating the age of chivalry. Kerr would thus extend the Germanic heroic age to the point of Christianization, to the inclusion of the Scandinavian Viking Age and culminating in the Icelandic family. Indeed, Christianization resulted in the loss of the tradition of heroic poetry, although there are examples of heroic poems that postdate Christianization by several centuries, such as the Battle of Maldon, composed 3 centuries after the Christianization of the Anglo-Saxons, or the Hildebrandslied. The Prose Edda itself originated as a handbook for skaldic poets, compiled by Snorri Sturluson more than 200 years after the Christianization of Iceland, because poetic tradition at that time was threatened by extinction. Historicity. Germanic mythology combines purely mythological material with historical events of this period. Identifiable historical characters appearing in Germanic heroic poetry, notably in the Volsungentiefing cycles, include Gundaharius, king of the Burgundians as Gunnar/Gunther, Theodoric the Great 454–526 in the Thibric saga, as well as in Middle High German legends about Dietrich von Bern, Attila the Hun 406–453 in the Atlikvida. The Roman emperors as Qajar, a number of tribal kings of the 5th to 6th centuries reflected in heroic poetry, are likely historical, but only rarely can this be established from independent historiographic tradition, as in the case of Hygelac, king of the Geats, who appears both in the heroic poem Beowulf and in historiographic sources such as the Liber Historia.